Road to GH will reveal the aftermath of Kristina's tragic miscarriage while acting as a surrogate for Molly, which plunged their sisterly bond into a chasm of tension and hatred. Haunted by grief and loss, Molly blamed Kristina for shattering her family. This incident not only robbed Molly of her hopes of motherhood but also became the breaking point that ended her marriage with TJ. Their arguments escalated, from minor disagreements to bitter accusations, leaving no common ground for reconciliation. Molly felt abandoned by TJ, who didn't share her grief, while TJ accused Molly of blaming him without facing reality. In the end, after days of turmoil and pain, they decided to separate, a bitter but inevitable decision. As Molly moved back to live with Alexis, seeking solace after the upheaval, she inadvertently found herself encountering Kristina more frequently. This proximity only deepened the rift instead of mending it. Every encounter reignited Molly's resentment toward Kristina, whom she blamed for all her misfortunes. Kristina, unable to forgive herself, endured Molly's bitter words while grappling with her own guilt. This weight of remorse gradually transformed into anger as Kristina realized that Molly focused solely on her own pain, ignoring what Kristina had endured. The bottled-up emotions pushed Kristina to a breaking point. In a moment of impulsive rage, she resolved to retaliate against Molly, not just to soothe her own pain but to prove she wasn't the only one at fault. Kristina secretly invited TJ to the Davis house, under the pretense of clearing the air. TJ, still reeling from his breakup with Molly, agreed to meet her. Their initial conversation seemed to be about shared grief, the child they both hoped for, but gradually, complex emotions began to fill the room. As they drank to dull their sadness, an unexpected intimacy emerged. Under the influence of alcohol and unresolved emotions, Kristina and TJ crossed a boundary they knew they shouldn't. They were swept up in a whirlwind of loneliness, despair, and deep-seated hurt, leading to an impulsive decision with far-reaching consequences. That night, Kristina and TJ slept together, a choice born of weakness, but also a manifestation of long-suppressed anger. This act not only complicated their already fractured relationships with Molly, but also set the stage for catastrophic fallout for everyone involved. However, Kristina didn't stop there. Torn between regret and defiance, she decided to let the truth surface intentionally. She knew her actions would devastate Molly, yet a part of her wanted Molly to feel the pain she had endured. Kristina began with vague hints and cryptic comments in conversations she knew Molly would notice. She left subtle clues, a piece of TJ's clothing, an offhand remark about a drunken night, designed to fuel Molly's suspicions. Eventually, Kristina could no longer maintain the ambiguity. During a tense confrontation, she bluntly confessed to Molly. Her revelation struck like a hurricane, destroying every shred of trust Molly once held. Molly was left frozen in disbelief, her eyes filled with horror and betrayal, unable to comprehend how her sister and ex-husband, two people she had loved the most, could betray her so cruelly. The pain felt like it was crushing her, leaving her speechless. Molly's collapse was more than just heartbreak, it was the loss of direction, of everything she once cherished. Her unborn child, her broken marriage, and now her sisterly bond, all reduced to ashes. She sank into profound despair, locking herself away from the world and drowning in bitter tears. The betrayal shattered not only her heart but also her trust in anyone. Meanwhile, Kristina, though pained by Molly's suffering, couldn't suppress the anger and sense of injustice brewing inside her. She felt that Molly never understood her anguish, not just the loss of a child but also the relentless blame and resentment Molly directed toward her. This perceived injustice fanned the flames of Kristina's fury, pushing her into a state of inner turmoil. Learning the truth about Kristina and TJ's betrayal, Molly erupted with unprecedented rage. She couldn't accept being stabbed in the back by the two people she had trusted most. The betrayal drove her to confront TJ and Kristina, hurling scathing accusations and exposing the hurt they had caused. Each confrontation ended in tears, but Molly didn't stop there. Determined to turn her anger into action, Molly devised a meticulous plan to make TJ and Kristina pay for what they had done. She began by undermining TJ's career at the hospital, even seeking to tarnish his reputation among colleagues. For Kristina, Molly targeted her efforts to rebuild stability at Charlie's pub, disrupting her business ventures. Molly didn't hesitate to spread the story of their betrayal to family and friends, ensuring that TJ and Kristina lived under the weight of shame and judgment. Despite Alexis's attempts to intervene, warning Molly that revenge would only worsen the situation, Molly refused to listen. To her, this wasn't just about punishment, it was about reclaiming her dignity and soothing the profound pain within her. Meanwhile, TJ and Kristina grappled with the consequences of their actions, struggling to cope with both regret and the pressure Molly had imposed. The Davis family, already fraught with tension, now faced the imminent collapse of all its bonds as they spiraled into a vortex of hatred, pain, and unforgiveness. Alexis, once hopeful she could bridge the divide between her children, found herself powerless. Watching her daughters, whom she loved more than life, tear each other apart left her devastated. Her efforts to counsel Molly to forgive and move on were met with fierce resistance whenever Kristina's name was mentioned. Attempts to reach out to Kristina were met with silence or angry words, as though everyone had taken Molly's side against her. In a desperate bid to escape her tangled emotions, Kristina threw herself into her work at Charlie's pub, hoping that staying busy would help her forget. Yet her efforts were a fragile facade, barely masking the deep wounds in her soul. No matter how occupied she kept herself, memories of that night with TJ and the anguish in Molly's eyes haunted her, leaving her unable to escape her guilt. Kristina and TJ's actions left scars not only on the family, but also ripples of shock throughout Port Charles. Their betrayal forced everyone to question whether there was any chance for reconciliation between Molly and Kristina, or if this fracture would remain forever. Molly now faced not only the loss of her child, but also the betrayal of her sister and ex-husband, while Kristina was trapped in a cycle of guilt and injustice. The pain, complex emotions, and unresolved conflicts seemed poised to ignite, promising to drive the Davis family into unprecedented drama.